it's Stephanie from Oh You're Lovely, where we carry the largest selection of wood flowers in the United States. Welcome back to another tutorial, and this one has been kind of just rumbling in the background, especially when we get new Luxe flowers. So this particular tutorial is more of a technique tutorial than a finished project tutorial. And this one is all about those lovely, lovely Luxe flowers in particular, but also the flowers that tend to uncurl a little bit once you dip dye them, and how to alleviate that and how to get it to stop. I'm here to help you. I am. So we're going to use a secret ingredient I'm going to show you in 2 seconds, and then we're also going to just get our hands dirty and we're going to dye a couple flowers. So let's jump into it. So as I mentioned, we're going to work primarily with the Luxe flowers, and when I say Luxe flowers, you're like, what are we talking about? We have 2 different collections. Actually, is there 2? Am I thinking of others? Well, there's 2 main collections of wood flowers that we carry over at ohyourlovely.com, and that is our normal Sola wood flower line, and then there is our Luxe line. And our Luxe line, those flowers, there's just a little something extra special about them. They're a little bit more detailed. There's usually a lot more going on with the flowers. This is the only peony I had. I can't believe that. I'm gonna have to change that soon, but I have this larger peony. So we have the Luxe flowers, and those can be a little bit tricky to dip dye. They are, because they're Luxe, they're a premium price as well. So I think sometimes people get a little nervous when they get them. They don't want to ruin them because you only get so many for a certain price, and they're just so pretty as is. So a couple years ago now at this point, we had discovered that a spray called Design Master, which is usually used in fresh florals, the finishing spray worked really, really well as like a buffer around the flower. You could spray that on the flower first and then dip dye it, and it didn't really lose much of its shape. It might change a little bit, but not nearly as much if you didn't use that spray. And then can I even say the words? I don't know if it gets suppressed or not. The panini happened. You know what I mean. Couple years ago, everything went upside down, and a lot of inventory type issues started propping up and happening. And the Design Master, it hit them. You couldn't find that spray anywhere. So we tried another one, which is now my go-to, and that is Mod Podge. The Mod Podge, I like the matte. Doesn't matter. I really don't know. I've never tried the gloss. I always just have matte on hand for some reason when it comes to the Mod Podge spray. So this is what I use now as like a preconditioner of sorts to keep the flowers as close to the shape as they are once like made, and not that they unravel. Now these I have dip dyed as is without the Mod Podge spray, and I really like how they reshape themselves, but it definitely does change the shape of these. But this does not just, you do not need to use this just for Luxe flowers. It is very helpful for Luxe flowers in particular. The type of wood that is used for the Luxe flowers, it is still Sola wood like our other flowers, but they're 2 different countries. And so it's a little bit of a different texture and way that the wood works itself. So we find that Luxe flowers in particular tend to uncurl a lot easier than the other flowers that we carry. But we are going to use this Mod Podge spray on those too. So these are going to be flowers that you would have like the curled edges to, that might start to uncurl when you dip dye them. So you want to keep the shape as close as possible. So we're going to do that as well. I think this might have been a Luxe flower. It feels like a Luxe flower. Then we've also, oh, I found one smaller. This is a ruffled peony. So this isn't a Luxe peony, but it's still a peony. We've got like this one, definitely uncurls a bit. Let me see what else we've got. And then I've got the Luxe version of that flower, and then another rose. So we've got a lot of flowers that have curls to them that then could like uncurl or straighten out. So we're gonna use the lovely Mod Podge spray first, show you how that's done, and then we'll get our hands messy. Wow, that was like a sub intro. Is that a word? Is that a description? I feel like it. That was a lot of chatter. All right, let's get to actually making something, shall we? All right, so the first thing I do is I take some bamboo skewers and I use that as a way to hold my flower in place. I gotta make a lot of noise for just a second. Shake her up. Okay. Now, this is a measure with your heart kind of situation. I just spray until I feel like it's enough. I've never counted it. If you want to, we'll do one where we don't speed it up. You can count along if you want. See how long it takes, where I feel good about it. I'm just saturating it basically. And then we'll let it sit. I'm gonna let them sit overnight. I don't think it's necessary, but I'm gonna do that. And then we'll dye them tomorrow. We'll do some dip dyeing, we'll do some hand painting. Let me know in the comments, what colors are you really hoping that are we hoping for a dark and moody palette, a light and airy palette? What are you hoping to see? And you'll find out if that's what you get to see. I haven't decided yet what colors I want to dye them yet. I got all night to think about that. Okay, here we go. So I'm just rolling it around, twisting. I also want to make sure I go underneath a little bit, hold those in place, hit it from the side, hit it from the top. And there you go. It doesn't affect the shape at all when you're spraying it on there. And if you get enough of it on there, which I feel like that's enough, it should hold the shape of the flower for dip dyeing. So I'm gonna do all of the rest of these, and then we'll meet back tomorrow and we'll start working on the dyeing. It is stinky, so do this in a well-ventilated area, ideally outside if you can. I don't know that it says it on here though, does it? Don't smoke when using, not a problem. Avoid contact with heat, sparks, and open flame. If using indoor, turn off all pilot lights. Okay. Don't store by heat or flame. So you can use it inside, but yeah, use with adequate ventilation. This is one of the other new Luxe flowers that I'm freaking in love with. We're almost done. And there is a fog in this room. I'm gonna be opening the door afterwards, so it's fine. I'm almost done for the evening in the studio, so I'm getting my butt out of here so I don't have to be inhaling these fumes afterwards. So it's not the worst smell. The Design Master, I like the smell of that stuff better than the Mod Podge, but what are you gonna do? This works well, it's affordable, and it's easy to find. The Design Master, again, was a little bit harder, and I'm gonna guess it's not as difficult anymore, but the Mod Podge is a little bit more of an affordable thing and isn't as difficult to find, as far as you can find it pretty much at every single craft store, Walmart, probably even Target, I'm gonna guess. All right, they're all sprayed up, good to go. We're gonna let them dry overnight. I'm gonna try not to cough. I normally don't do a ton of these inside at once. I usually wait until it's nicer out and do a whole bunch outside. Okay, I'm gonna wrap this up. We're gonna let these dry. We're gonna dip dye them tomorrow. Put your guesses or requests of what colors you're hoping to see in the comments below, and I'll meet you back in 24 hours, but for you, it'll be less than a second. All right, the colors have been chosen. I was originally gonna go for some darker colors, and then I was just like, I want it to be spring. So we're gonna go with some really light, but slightly moody. We're gonna throw in like a tannish brown. I wanna do that, what is it, a cappuccino rose or something? I think the roses, some of the roses I'm gonna use in that brown color. And then what we've got here, so I've got some of the paint is from the Oh You're Lovely paint line. The yellow is the Buttercup. The pink is our blush pink. Now the purple is a mixture of the smoky plum and soft lavender. after the fact, I was like, I probably should have just done all the soft lavender, but I kind of wanted that little moody tone, so that's where the smoky plum comes in. Then the brown color is from Apple Barrel. It's the khaki color, but then I mixed it to lighten it up just a little bit. I used the Antique Cream, also from Oh You're Lovely. So those are the colors that we're using. I did also throw in a little bit of glycerin into each of the mixes, and I did put more water than paint because I wanted more of a wash than a real like saturated opaque color. We'll see. I haven't tested any of these. We're just gonna dip them, and whatever comes out, comes out. And we might play a little bit too. We might mix and match some of the colors a little bit. I don't really know. I don't have a full game plan in my head. Here are the flowers now fully dried. Now I did add the glycerin into the paint mix because the Mod Podge does make the flowers a little bit crispy, kind of to the touch. They feel a little bit different. So I do always add glycerin to my paint mixture when I'm using the Mod Podge just to soften them up a bit. But they're looking good, and they look like they haven't changed their shape at all, which yay for that. So now we're gonna pop them in the dip dyeing solutions, and we'll see if any of the flowers lose their shape. I think what we'll do is a before and an after. Like I'll dip dye one, show you, or I'll show you it before it's been dip dyed, and then we'll dip dye it, and once it's dry, I'll show you the difference, and we'll hopefully, fingers crossed and toes, all of the flowers keep their shape. So let's get into it. This one I'm gonna do two different things. I'm gonna dip dye it completely in the pink, and then I'm gonna take my paintbrush and I'm gonna put yellow in the center. This one I'm gonna dip dye completely in the yellow, and then I think I'm gonna twirl the sides with the purple. All right, lovelies, the flowers are 95% dry, so they're good to go in terms of the shape's not gonna change anymore. So let's take a look. I can't remember which ones I dyed when, but needless to say, as I'm staring at them on my table, they kept their shape perfectly from it being raw to it being dyed. Thanks again to that lovely Mod Podge spray. So it's a really simple process. It's just one extra step, but it does really, really well, especially with those Luxe flowers, to hold their shape exactly how they are when they're in the raw cream state. These turned out so good too. Normally this one, if I dip dye it without having any of the Mod Podge, a lot of the petals start to stand up on their own, and it didn't do that at all. So, and here's our ginormous peony. So, there you go, Mod Podge spray for the win. That is how I almost always, 99.9% of the time, if I'm dyeing the Luxe flowers, do a quick spray of that Mod Podge. Again, you spray with your heart, you measure it with your heart. I don't really have a spray it down for 5 seconds or do this many coats across. You just feel it in your bones when it's right. And if it's not quite right, the flower itself will change its shape slightly, but in my experience, it still stays pretty dang close, true to form. It may not be 100% exactly the same, but it's pretty dang close. So Mod Podge spray is a great helper in those situations. So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. It's more of a technical one this time. We haven't done one of those in a while, so I hope you enjoyed it. Let's do all of the fun outro things, shall we? If you're loving this channel, can't get enough, want to know the next time we post a video, which is typically on Wednesdays, make sure to subscribe and ring that bell to be notified every time a new video goes up. Make sure to like, comment, share, all that fun stuff. It helps the algorithm and makes YouTube super happy, which makes us super happy. So please do that if you feel so inclined. Let's see what else. Oh, if you'd like to learn about the flowers, along with the craft supplies and greenery that we carry, go on over to ohyourelovely.com. But before you do, let me give you something. Use the code YouTube30 to get 30% off your first order. All right, you guys, I will see you right here next week for another tutorial. I'm Stephanie from Oh You're Lovely, and you, my friends, are absolutely lovely. Bye, guys.